Hey, I'm WVTM 13 Chief Meteorologist Jason Simpson. A lot of things being said right now about the long range forecast. Some forecast models do some crazy stuff this time of year, especially because we're making a big transition from the hot summertime through the 2 weeks of fall that we get into winter. And the closer we get into November and December, the wilder the forecast modeling is going to get. But in the here and now, let's talk about where we've been to get where we're going. So, where have we been? Recently, a drought. And that drought has been caused by a somewhat semi permanent feature on the East Coast known as a trough. And you're looking at a stereographic image. Think of it this way: we're on top of the earth looking down. So, the lower part of this here is North America. And Alabama is located right there at the tip of the arrow. So we are basically in this northwest flow right here. So as long as you've got that northwest flow, you're not getting a lot of moisture. The Gulf has been cut off. That's why we've not had any tropical activity in the Gulf or anywhere near the East Coast for the last few weeks. That pattern's also been the reason for the rapid onset drought that we've seen. So let's talk about some of these crazy forecast models. That you see here on the screen is an Arctic front at 18Z or 1 p.m. on Halloween. Now, is that realistic? Could this really happen around here? It could. Nothing's exactly impossible, but you would have this incredible surge of cold air coming in to where at 1 p.m. it would be 49 in Cullman, 55 in Birmingham. Do I think that's realistic? Probably not. Something else you see here that is not extremely realistic is a lot of rain on Halloween. Now, I will say this much: for Tennessee and Arkansas and Northwest Mississippi, maybe this zone right here, it wouldn't be all that hard to see it happen. For this zone to see any sort of rain, I just don't know that that's really a reality. Some of it's going to come down to timing, of course, but the other part of it is, how strong could this front be with the kind of upper air pattern that we're actually anticipating? Now, when we look at ensemble data, the two things that you just saw, those were operational runs of the model. So it's the whim of the model that an Arctic front is here at this time and then not at that time. That's the wild flip-flops that you get. The ensembles, on the other hand, tell us a different story. They give us a much more conservative and a more even-keeled look at the weather. And often we look at it more in terms of probabilities. So you see this little area right here over northwest Alabama? That is roughly a 10% probability of a tenth of an inch of rain from midnight on Halloween to midnight on November 1st. And remember how I said maybe Tennessee and Arkansas would have a better chance of that happening? I think that's more legitimate. And the reason is, I think they're going to be closer to the jet stream by that point. We're going to have this thing called a zonal flow with a little bit of a ripple in it that should allow some pretty chilly air to sneak into the Great Lakes. It's going to allow fairly warm, dry weather out to the west and generally just mild weather here. I think we will be a little bit below average for this time of year by the time we get to Halloween itself. But that flow that we have that keeps things from west to east just doesn't usually unlock the Arctic for Alabama. So I would say it this way: rain is not likely on October 31st. You count up all the October 31st over the last, 75 to 100 years, and we have less than 35 Halloweens where it's rained in Birmingham. We've got a couple where it snowed in North Alabama, but it's never rained a lot. And the reason is because it's usually the driest time of the year for us. The normal high is around 70, the normal low is around 48. I think we're going to be a little bit below average going into Halloween itself. There's an old saying in the weather community that you don't forecast rain in the middle of a drought. And boy, we are in the middle of one. About 6 weeks ago, we talked about the potential or the likelihood for a rapid onset drought or a flash drought, and here it is. More of the state now under severe drought than we've had in ages. It's up 14% this week, covering now a good chunk of Jefferson, Shelby, Walker, Tuscaloosa, Cullman, and then virtually all the Tennessee Valley. The one bright spot over the past 7 days has been in East Alabama around Auburn and Tuskegee and Montgomery, where we had all that rain about a week ago, made a dent in the drought there, but it certainly didn't help down toward Mobile and Baldwin and Escambia, Conecuh, Monroe, Clark, Washington counties either. So North Alabama is getting worse. Southern part of the state, it's already about as bad as you can get and continuing to get worse. So severe drought, including 14% more of the state of Alabama this week. Birmingham having its 15th driest fall on record. You think, wow, it's been dry around here. How dry did it have to be the top 5? In some cases, there was no rain at all in the entire month of October. This is rainfall projected. Remember the difference between the ensemble and the operational? This is an operational run of the GFS Global Forecast System model run by NOAA, and that is 10 days worth of rain. I think it is reasonable to suspect a little rain around October 26th to 30th. Is it widespread heavy rain, or is it more like what we've had the past couple of times it's rained, where it's splotchy and doesn't really give us a lot? I think that's probably what we're looking at. No drought busters coming around here anytime soon. 7-day forecast, we're going up in the 70s for the next several days. In fact, I don't really see a lot of day-to-day change here. It'll be cooler Sunday, Monday, and then warm back up Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's where we start that chance of a pattern change, flipping from the trough on the East Coast to more of a zonal flow. Occasionally, little ripples can come through that and bring us showers that we don't see 10 days in advance. The smaller a storm system is, the weaker it is, the more difficult it is to see at a long distance. So just keep that in mind. Right now, I don't think Halloween is a major weather day for Alabama. Things can change. We'll keep you posted.